Alrighty, so here we go. It's time to do the review of this match week. We already did one review with the Sunday night soccer game, and now we get a chance to split the review into two parts. Where in the first part, as usual, we're gonna look at the first 8 games, and then tomorrow I'll be looking at the last 6 games, and that includes some of those games that are delayed because we had a couple of games that was delayed because of weather, and it turns out the Huddersfield Derby is one of them. And I usually go in the order in terms of the league website in terms of how each games are go. So yeah, because of the way that those two games that got delayed that just fall right under the 8 game thresholds that I was going to do in terms of part one of the review. That is the reason why tomorrow I'll be looking at those 2 games, and then the rest of the late West Coast game that finish up the Saturday night action, and also kind of concludes in terms of the review for this match week, because I know on Tuesday we're gonna have to do the preview for the midweek action, because we're now once again in that spell of play where there's gonna be a lot of games that's gonna happen in these next couple of days, and there's really not a lot of time for me to do video that is not related to reviews and previews in these next couple of days and these next couple of weeks as well. But anyway, let us begin with the first game of the busy Saturday night action, and that, of course, is Toronto and Atlanta. And I gotta say, at least there were goals in this game. I was actually really concerned coming into this game with the way that I was worried the fact that there wasn't going to be goal, because this is kind of a battle of the mid for both of these teams that are not doing very well. And I was also worried that it was going to be another DC versus Atlanta game where, yeah, it was a forgettable kind of game. But there were definitely some interesting headlines. Now, in the first half, 5 minutes in, the first shot of the game did see Thompson puts it wide from long range before Johnson denies Schlicht from long range, and then Almiron puts it over from close range. All right. Well, both of these teams definitely getting some good chances early on this one, trying to get the opening goal. Etienne Jr. tried to do so, but he puts it wide from close in the 16th minute. And then it looked like we did get the opening goal as Latte Laugh puts the ball into the back of net. But because this is Emmanuel Latte Laugh, yeah, he's not allowed to score a goal for at least an open play this season, because yeah, VAR basically disallowed that because of offside. He was just a hair offside there, and I mean, wrote that moment kind of sounds about right for Latte Laugh. Again, just even when we finally show his clinical finishing, oh, here he was in an offside position, so the goal has to be chopped off. He then puts it wide from close in the 34th minute as Atlanta was pressing for the opening goal. As I said, that Hebert would deny Corbianu from close before long stab would hit it right to Hibbert in the first man stoppage time. Brad Guzan actually was not in this game. This is really a rare time where we do not see Guzan being in this one. Not quite sure why that is the case. But Johnson would then deny Lennon from close in the third man stoppage time. Both of these teams were once again pressing to try to get the opening goal, and then Almiron puts it high on the free kick in the 7 minute of stoppage time. But we do head to halftime with the score scoreless between both of these teams, and I thought that was going to probably be the score after the 90th minute, right? Well, no, because after Hebert was able to deny Corbiano from close range, he could not save this shot from David Flores. He scored here from long stab. It was a wonderful corner delivery, and David Flores found himself some space to head that one in, and just like that, PFC were leading 1-0 in this one. Lennon did look to answer, but he puts it wide in the 57th minute before Dominguez who puts it wide from long range at the hour mark. We then go for a period where not much really happened, and I thought that favored Toronto, knowing the fact that there's a chance that they can just close this game out, and especially when you're facing against a relatively toothless Atlanta attack. I thought one goal probably would have been enough for TFC to get the 3 points in this game. Though they did have a couple of chances to make it 2-0, and if it wasn't for the young Atlanta goalkeeper Hibbert making another save there to deny Corbiano, who, by the way, Corbiano, he's gonna have nightmares about the Atlanta young goalkeeper in this one, because he has just kind of stonewalled him a couple of times. In fact, I wrote it 3 times in this game. Not quite sure exactly if that is the case, but when I look at the feed on the league website, I think there was 3 times that Hebrew was able to make a big save on Corbianu there. But in the 7 minutes of stoppage time, Lennon would put it wide from long range. But then on that same sequence prior to the Lennon shot, Atlanta feel like there was a foul in the box. They feel like Luke Brennan was brought down in the box, so they go to VAR to see whether or not if that is the case. And indeed it was. So a penalty was given to Atlanta, and they decided to give Latte Laugh a chance from the spot. Now, this is kind of an interesting decision because, on one hand, yes, you really want your number nine that just simply cannot buy a goal right now to finally get a goal to get his confidence. But at the same time, with the way that he's been missing everything, I mean, I wasn't so sure that that would be a proper time to finally get your number nine a chance to get his confidence back. But nevertheless, they decided to do so, and in the end, it paid off, though barely, though, because Johnson actually got a hand to it latte left when he puts this penalty. It wasn't really a great penalty. Not surprised for a guy that hasn't scored in what seems like a long time. But yeah, Johnson did get a hand to it, but it still were able to trickle that one in. So for once, latte left not only finally ended his goal drought, but finally mercy is being shown, or at least the soccer gods are finally showing some mercy after kind of torturing him for the past month or so with him just not being allowed to score a goal so far. He still haven't scored a goal from open play, but it's going to be great for him to feel like he is back in the goal scoring department. But yeah, in the end, it ends in a 1-1 draw in this one. The shots in this one 13 shots with 11 that Atlanta has, 3 shots on goal for the 5 that TFC had. 5 shots off target compared to 6 that Atlanta has. 1 shot that was blocked for the 2 that TFC had, and possession-wise, 56% possession compared to 44% possession that Toronto has in this game. And I'm just glad the fact that there were some interesting storyline that come out of this game because, like I said, I thought this game had 0-0 written all over it. I thought this was going to be another boring game like the one that Atlanta has against DC not that long ago. But hey, it turns out to be an interesting kind of game. It's not the most entertaining game I would say of the week, but hey, with the way that I thought this was going to be a boring game, and I'm pretty sure nobody really even thought to tune into this one unless you're real sickos of MLS. That is, I think you would say that this game definitely play much more interesting than I thought it was originally going to happen when I saw this fixture that was going to come up from this match week. But with that being said, moving on in the next match, we got the Union and the New York Red Bulls. So with the way that the Union has been kind of struggling these last couple of games, when all in doubt, why not play the New York Red Bulls at home? Because they seems like they have ownage over the New York Red Bulls at home. And yeah, for the Red Bulls, I guess coming out of this game, at least you can say that, hey, if we're going to lose to the Union in terms of these 2 games that we have to play against them, this one and the U.S. Open Cup quarterfinal, I'd rather lose this one rather than the quarterfinal match. So that being said, the Union quickly jump out to a 1-0 lead. As 9 minutes into this game, Vasilev would score to make it 1-0 in favor of the Union. Cornell did actually make a great save here from Makiyana, but unfortunately falls right into the path of Vasilev. He basically tapped it in for probably the easiest goal he would ever score in his career. And just like that, the Union were up 1-0. Sullivan looked for another, but he puts it over, and it was all Union early in this one. I mean, the Red Bulls clearly did not show up on time in this one, and in the 24th minute, they would double their lead. It's Damiani. He scored from Sullivan and Baribo to give the Union a 2-0 lead, and from Damiani, he needed that one back badly because he has really struggled when it comes to his finishing. He always tends to get himself in some good spots, but it's just the finishing that has not been there. And again, when you are a guy that has gone through a goal drought, the goal is definitely going to look smaller than it should be. But this will really give a lot of confidence back to Damiani, and certainly a chance for the Union number 9 to get his confidence back and maybe go on a goal scoring run. Makhayan, Makhayan would heads it right, or heads it just wide from the corner. By the way, I might have just completely butchered that name. The same way when I butchered Makhayan name, I'm actually started getting a little tired because I spent a lot of energy in terms of writing this down, and not to mention it's actually getting pretty close for me to go to bed for work tomorrow. That is on this Sunday night. But anyway, Baribo then puts it high from long range before Vasilev puts it wide from close to the second minute of stoppage time. The Red Bulls we finished the first half with 0 shot in the first half. Yeah, that sounds about right because it was a total dominance by the Union in the first half. The second half was a little different. In the second half, the first shot of the game did or the first shot of the game for the Red Bulls finally happened in the 48th minute. It's see Carmona puts it high from close before Nealis would heads it wide from close in the 52nd minute. Whatever Sandro Short said to this team at halftime, it definitely worked because they finally woke up and were looking to try to get themselves one back in this one. Duncan would then miss wide from long range before Choupo-Moting would put it wide from close in the 71st minute. Very quiet game for both Choupo-Moting and Eamon Forsberg in this one. I thought the Union did a good job for the most part, shutting them down. But I also thought the Union really took their foot off the gas heading into the second half, and that's kind of something that if you're Bradley Carnell there, he's not going to be happy with the way that yes, you're leading 2-0 in the game, but as the old saying goes, the 2-0 lead is always the most dangerous lead, and that they just haven't really kind of find that same intensity that they showed pretty much for the entire first half. Though that being said, in the 80th minute, John Jack would miss wide from close range in the 80th minute before Carmona would put it wide from long range. And then Olivas had a chance to score his first goal of the game. He was in on goal here, but Cornell says no. He robbed him on a 1v1 opportunity before Westfield would put it wide from close range. And then Raffinello would hits it right to Cornell in the first minute of stoppage time. It feels like the Union probably saw what I wrote, and maybe even Bradley Cornell saw what I wrote too when I said that they really need to show their intensity again, because they definitely picked up their intensity, and now we're looking to push to try to get a third goal here. Hall would then hit it right to Blake in the third minute of stoppage time, but in the end, the Union they score those two early goals in this game, and it stands as they win 2-0 in this one over the Red Bulls. The shots in this one, 17 shots for the 8 that the Red Bulls had, 1 shots on goal for the 5 that the Union had, 9 shots off target for the 4 that the Red Bulls had, 2 shots on block for the 3 that the Union has, and possession-wise, 50% for both all of these team, dead even in terms of the possession. And with this win, the Union is back at the top of the Eastern Conference. And the East right now, just like the West, it's kind of tight when you look at the top three spot right now. Both Philly, Nashville, and Cincinnati, they're right up there in the standing. But as a little spoiler alert, because of the way that Nashville and Cincinnati lost this week, and the Union were able to get the win, they're now all of a sudden back at the top of the Eastern Conference. But for the Red Bulls, like I said, if you're gonna lose to the Union on the road, and especially does not look play very well against the Union when you're playing them at Subaru Park, you rather have this game rather than the quarterfinal. The quarterfinal is more important, and we'll see how that matchup is going to be. I'm assuming it's probably not going to be similar to this one, where the Union is probably just going to dominate this game, and the Red Bulls for the most part didn't really show up in this game whatsoever. Now, moving on in the next match is Orlando and Montreal, and Orlando is definitely in trouble because it feels like the summer swoon has really hit this Orlando City side, and it's kind of interesting because when we look at this Orlando City side, usually they do get hot as the second half of the season happen, but I remember in recent season this is kind of usually a time when they really start to hit their strive again and go on an incredible run, and we'll see whether or not that kind of continue for the rest of the season. But right now, I mean, this is not a great result for Oscar Perez side. Dropping points to a Montreal side that is near the bottom, if not at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. I almost said they lost to them, but it definitely felt like a loss for Orlando City. In the first 17 minutes, yeah. If you didn't watch the first 17 minutes, you didn't miss much. Nothing really happened. In fact, the first shot of the game came in the 17 minutes. That's all. Ojeda puts it over from long range. Muriel would then hits it right to Siwas in the 24th minute. Remember Luis Muriel, with him being red hot in the first half of the season, he has cooled off in a big way to a point where he started to look like a liability once again with this team. He started to look like the player that he was last season, which was a player that was really underperforming, and that is definitely not good news if you're an Orlando City fan. But there was no doubt that Orlando was in control of this one. They were looking for the opening goal, but you know who has been still scoring goals? It's Martino Ojeda. He scored here for Morial to make it 1-0 in favor of Orlando City. It's actually a free kick that was scored by Ojeda, but it was actually Morial the one that kind of sets him up on the free kick. So of course Muriel still gets the assist in that. I mean, it's kind of like a training ground setup from the free kick, something similar to what I see with FIFA game, where you see teams maybe trying to play it short and then try to hit this one, maybe get a better angle around the wall there, and that's exactly what happened with Ojeda free kick opportunity, and just like that, Orlando City leads at 1-0. And also, this is something that I'm surprised not many teams try to do that. Like, I feel like more teams would try to do this kind of routine just so you can get a better angle and not just hit the wall every single time when you're trying to go on a dead ball situation. Though that being said, Ojeda did look for another, but he heads it wide in the 31st minute before the first shot for Montreal. See Sunchek puts it wide from long range. Ojeda then thought he got his second goal of the game. The problem was the flag did not agree with him, so the goal was chopped off for offside. Orlando was pushing for another. And then on the other end, it looked like Owusu scored and got the equalizer for Montreal, but the flag did not agree with him either. So the goal was once again disallowed for offside. Brekalo would then heads it wide from close in the second minute stoppage time before Enrique would heads it right to Siwaz as Orlando City was pressing to try to get that second goal. But we do head to halftime with Orlando leading 1-0. And not getting that second goal would come back to haunt this Orlando City side. But in the second half, Freeman would put it over from close in the 50th minute. But just like the first half, in at least in the beginning of it, not much chances really created in the second half either. And it just kind of feels like almost like Orlando City was kind of putting on cruise control, knowing that yeah, Montreal is probably not gonna find himself a chance to come back in this game, right? Except that's exactly what didn't happen because in the 80th minute, a penalty was given to Montreal as Owusu was brought down by Schlegel in the box. There was a pretty clumsy challenge there on Schlegel part, but this gives a chance for Owusu to try to score from the penalty spot. He's been pretty much the most lethal goal scorer for this Montreal side, a top goal scorer for this team, and he continued that mark by scoring from the spot here. And just like that, the game was tied up at one apiece. It looked like Orlando City was gonna easily walk away with all 3 points. Ojeda would then look for the lead, but he missed wide there before Escobar would flash one just wide from long range. And I thought all of a sudden it feels like the game was up for grabs. Both of these teams were now looking for the winning goal. Rodriguez tried to win it for Orlando City, but his shot actually took a wicked deflection, and somehow it goes right into Siwaz. And I think Siwaz is probably very fortunate that that wicked deflection kind of played right back to him when he trying to make that readjustment. Because yeah, when you see those wicked deflection, that would get a goalkeeper flat-footed more times or not. But great job there from Siwaz to readjust himself and able to get to that one. But yeah, in the end, it ends in a 1-1 draw in this one, and the shots in this one, 11 shots committed, just 4 that Montreal has. Yeah, Montreal was pretty toothless going for it, but hey, they capitalized on that one shot on target, which one was from the penalty spot, and that got them the result of this one compared to the 4 that Orlando City has. 4 shots off target with the 2 that Montreal has. 2 shots that was blocked with the 1 that Montreal has. And possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that Montreal has in this game. And like I said, this really felt like a loss for Orlando City. I mean, you cannot drop points against the worst team in the Eastern Conference, and especially like I said, this team these last couple of games it just feels like they've been gone for a bit of a swoon period and going for a bit of a downward trend, and that's frustrating to see because again, this season for Orlando City, it's been a very weird season. On paper, I think this team can definitely be one of the better team in the Eastern Conference. They definitely have the talent to do so, especially on the attack, but they just at times kind of get in their own ways or just doesn't really show that potential. And as a result, that's kind of where they are sitting in the standing. They're not sitting very well in the standings right now. Definitely not getting home field advantage if the playoffs start today. And that I just feel like I expect this team to be even better than what they are, and they have shown that they can when they're at their best, they can be a contender in the East. But they just haven't shown that potential more times or not. And this is another latest example with all the talent that you have, especially on the attack. You should not be only scoring 1 goal against this lowly Montreal side. Now, moving on into the last game on this board is one of the game besides the Hell is Real derby that is considered to be a marquee matchup, which is Inter Miami and Nashville SC. And I gotta say, this is bad news for the rest of the league that now Inter Miami has found their strive again. It's almost like with the way that May period has gone, and with all the doubters that is in there, that yeah, Inter Miami probably hurt a lot of those doubters, and maybe they're using that just to kind of feel them for the rest of the season. And as I said before, every single team is going to go through a tough stretch. Even the best team in MLS is going to go through a tough stretch. Miami definitely gone for that tough stretch in May, but ever since they broke out of that tough stretch, they have not looked back ever since that. And in this game against the hottest team in the league in Nashville SC, 15 game unbeaten, and they basically decided that, yep, we're going to end their unbeaten streak, and we don't even care if we do it like that. But in the first half, 8 minutes in, Willis would deny Alande, but it did fall right to Suarez, and he tried to chip it into the empty net. That was a weird decision there from Luis Suarez to do, but either way, he missed that one. High Kamaski would then heads it right to Willis. Miami definitely were the better team to start out in this pivotal battle, and they were pressing to get the opening goal, and they do. And who else but the GOAT himself, Messi, would score to make it 1-0 in favor of Inter Miami. Just a vintage Messi free kick, though I don't think that was good enough, at least for Nashville perspective, in terms of setting the wall. The wall was not set up very well in this one, and as a result, Messi kind of found a gap in the hole, and with the talent that he has, and just the ability to even see how the wall is set up and the weakness that the wall has. Yeah, you simply can't do that if you're Nashville OSC. But yeah, that made it 1-0 in favor of Miami. We then go for a period where not much really happens. Segovia looked to make it 2-0, but he missed wide in the 38th minute. The shots were 5-2 for Miami up to this point. Mir would then head to wide from the corner in the third minute of stoppage time, but we do head to halftime with Miami leading 1-0 and really shutting down this Nashville attack. I mean, up to this point, we haven't really mentioned Sam Surridge and Hadi Mukhtar's name. That all changed in the second half because in the 49th minute, Mukhtar would score. He scored from Nahar and Yazbek to tie the game up at one apiece. Where in the world was the marking there for Hani Mukhtar? I mean, I know this Miami defense have gone a little bit better in recent time, but my oh my, this was it almost felt like they're back in their May form in terms of their defending. Just you simply cannot leave one of the best player in the league and Hani Mukhtar wide open in the box, because when you decide to leave him right open in the box like that, I mean, it's no surprise that you're gonna get punished, and Miami was punished because of that. The game was tied up at one apiece. Suarez did look to answer, but he puts it over from long range in the 55th minute. But then in the 62nd minute, Miami gets the lead back. And really, again, we talked about many times before, when you face against Inter for Miami, the margin in terms of making mistake is very little. And here, I just don't know what happened here in Joe Willis. I mean, Joe Willis is considered to be one of the best goalkeeper in this league, probably the most underrated goalkeeper in my opinion. I feel like he hasn't really give props of how good he's been for Nashville for the ever since they came into the league. But here, just a rare howler from him, where he just gave it straight to Messi. I mean, we know that the goal himself have scored a lot of goals in his path, but yeah, you just simply cannot let him get a gift. And this is also the second game in a row that Messi basically got a gift. And he took advantage of it. We saw it last game when Beeson basically heads it right back toward the path of Messi, and he took advantage of it. And here, Messi basically saying thank you for Joe Willis in terms of making that. He's just gonna show his composure and take his time to hit it into the empty net. And yeah, just like that, Miami were leading 2-1 up to this point. And if you're Nashville, that's got to be very disappointing, because just as you thought you had the momentum in this game, then that happened, and now they found themselves down again. Ustari then denied Mukhtar in the near post in the 67th minute before Zimmerman had a header that was deflected and goes wide. Tatsev then missed wide from close in the 68th minute. By the way, I haven't mentioned Surrich's name in this game. Yeah, he had a really quiet game in this one. He was pretty much not non-existent. Though a lot of credit has to do with that Miami defense. They did a really good job in terms of shutting down one of the hottest goals scored in the league. But Nashville was definitely putting some pressure up to this point. They were pressing to try to get the equalizer again. Suarez would then hits one right to Willis in the 76th minute. And really, as the time winds down, you would expect maybe Nashville was going to show that pushback, but they never did. I mean, Miami did a good job in terms of not only killing this game off, but they decided to just kill that game off with possession. They just basically were trying to outpossess Nashville, just trying to run down the clock, and they did exactly that. As in the end, they get the 2-1 win in this one. They end Nashville 15 games unbeaten run in the process to do so. The shots of this one, not a lot of shots in this one. 9 shots for both of these teams. 5 shots on goal for the 2 that Nashville has. 1 shot's off target for the 3 that Miami has. 1 shot that was blocked for the 4 that Nashville has. And possession-wise, 55% possession for the 45% possession that Nashville has in this game. By the way, with the brace that Messi has in this game, that is now 5 consecutive games that he have scored multiple goals in this season. That is a record in MLS. In fact, he actually broke the record in the last game against New England, scoring that brace, which is the record for the most consecutive game a player have scored multiple goals. Now he has added that to to 5 straight games. And this again, this is bad news for the rest of the league that now Miami and it seems like Messi is going superhuman again because like I said, I think they probably heard the doubts in terms of what happened in May and how it feels like this project of them is just kind of falling apart. Little do we know that yeah, it's not falling apart. It feels like they're playing some of the best soccer that they have played so far, and yeah, they continues this into the playoffs. Yeah, this is going to be a very scary team to face once again in the playoffs, and a team that I think everybody would hate to say it, but it is kind of true. They're maybe the favorites to win MLS Cup this year. With that being said, I am now going to switch board and look at the last 4 games to conclude the review of the first 8 games and look at part one of the review of match week number 23, looking at these early Saturday night game that happened. So moving on, we got Minnesota versus the San Jose Earthquakes, also known as the Blues Not Derby, or my personal derby that is, because it's two of my favorite teams facing off against each other. And yeah, in the end, this was not close whatsoever. And I said in the preview that coming into this game with both of these teams coming off of U.S. Open Cup, 120 minutes, kind of brutal battle that they have with one team able to emerged victoriously while the other weren't able to do so. That I feel like the team that was able to go through that period but able to get the win after 120 minutes will probably feel not only the more confident but feel the more fit coming into this one because Minnesota they didn't really put a lot of their starter until the second half of the game. So in reality, most of these starters only played like 70 plus minutes in that game against Chicago. Whereas the Quakes, they definitely put more of their starters in, and not to mention, they do not have Christian Espinoza in this game, probably the linchpin of this attack. And with the way that they're also coming off of a loss, and they have to go on the road in this game compared to Minnesota staying at home, it is no surprise the fact that Minnesota took that full advantage of it. And yeah, the Quakes they just look gas, especially in the second half, and especially the fourth goal that they conceded. That was a sign of a team that is just dead tired and we're not prepared heading into this one. Now, in the first half, it also doesn't help the fact that they conceded just 2 minutes into this game, as Tani Oluwaseyi would score from Lud and Pereira to make it 1-0 in favor of Minnesota. It came off of a set pieces. We know that Minnesota is the set piece king in MLS, and yeah, the Quakes had no answer in this game in terms of defending set pieces whatsoever. Just kind of typical Quakes set piece defending there in stride, and yeah, just like that, Minnesota leads at 1-0. Hartswood did look to respond, but he was denied by Dane Sinclair. It also come off a bad turnover from the Loons as well, and I thought they got away with that one. You definitely don't want to turn the ball over against this Quakes attack that can be lethal at times. Rongo would then flash one wide from close in the 11th minute. I'm pretty sure the Allianz crowd was definitely happy to see Chicho back in the building. But yeah, I thought it was a good response for the Quakes, who despite the fact that they went down 1-0, they sort of kind of took over this game kind of unexpectedly. I thought, that goal that they conceded early, it would demoralize this team. More times than not, whenever I see the Quakes give up an early goal, either at home or on the road, and especially on the road, they're not going to come back from the resort. It's probably going to hurt them for the most part, but they show some good fight back. At least up to this point, Budo would then puts it wide from long range. The shots were 4-1 for the Quakes 20 minutes in. So that one shot for Minnesota went into the back net, but ever since that, they didn't generate any shots, and I thought the Loons they were kind of on the ropes a little. But the good news is they did eventually ride out that pressure and started to take the control back into this game. And you wonder, is this kind of due to the fact that maybe the Quakes spent a lot of energy trying to chase the game, trying to get themselves a goal back, and now it feels like the fatigue is starting to show again with this team because Minnesota started to take control of this one. They were looking for the second goal. First, it was Marcanic heads it wide on the doorstep of goal before Daniel denying Yoboa on the free kick. Gresso would then miss wide from the corner. The Loons were pressing for that second goal, and they got it in the 42nd minute as Calvin Yoboa would score from Oluwaseyi to make it 2-0 in favor of Minnesota. Zero defending whatsoever there from the Quakes, leaving Kelvin Yeboah wide open like that, and especially with the way that Yeboah has started to get his form back. Yeah, you that is probably one of the last guy you want to leave wide open in the box. And then just as we head to halftime, and just as we thought it was going to be 2-0 in favor of Minnesota, they make it 3-0 as Marcanic, who has just been on a goal scoring spree, by far his best careers or best season in his career, and just having a career season in front of net. He scored again to make it 3-0. It came out of a set piece again, and there was just some optional defending whatsoever from the Quakes. I mean, Marcanic just left wide open in the box. For a guy that has known to score a lot of set piece goal, especially heading a goal on the back end of a flick. Yeah, that is probably the last guy you want to leave wide open as well in the box. But yeah, just woeful defending there from the Quakes. Minnesota were up 3-0, and they almost made it four as Pereira almost made it 4-0, but he puts that one over, and we do head to halftime with Minnesota leading 3-0. Now, I will say that last time when Minnesota were up 3-0 at one point in the game, it did not go so well for them. But I had a feeling that even though they had that ability to kind of switch off in the second half, I thought this was done. I didn't think the Quakes were coming back in this one. The way how tired this team is, and the way that how this first 45 minutes have went, it couldn't come at a worst case scenario for this team. To the fact that, yeah, if you're a Quakes fan and you switch off the TV after that, I wouldn't blame you for doing so. But in the second half, Buddha would put it right to Dane Sinclair. Not much really happened coming out of the second half, because again, the Loons were just happy to maybe let the Quakes work the ball while they're being very tired right now, and the Quakes couldn't really find anything going because of the fatigueness that they show. But they do at least get one back in the 70th minute, as Bruno Wilson would score from Arango to make it 3-1 in this one. And this time it's Minnesota that's not doing a good job in terms of defending there. They didn't clear their lines and were kind of getting hemmed in, and they pay the price as a result. Yoboa did look to respond to try to restore the free goal lead, but he was denied by Danielle before Judd would hit it right to Dane Sinclair in the 90th minute. But then in the 5th minute stoppage time, Minnesota restore that free goal lead and make it 4-1. As Josef Rosales, he scored for Molo Ashai and Yaboa to make it 4-1 in this one. So a career night for Tani Ashai, at least on the assist shot. He's definitely not a guy that is known to be the guy that provide helpers, but he definitely was that player in this one, getting two primary assists and also a goal in this one. And also in that moment, I mean, if there is an evidence that this Quakes team is just dead, have dead legs, that's kind of shows it. I mean, that back line, there were players on that back line that are just simply jogged while Tiny was in on goal. Like they didn't. It felt like they didn't really care whatsoever. And I understand that it is the 95th minute, and I do understand the fact that I know this team is really tired because of the 120 minutes that they had to endure, and not to mention them pretty much chasing throughout this game. But that is absolutely unacceptable. I mean, I hope that if Bruce Arena see that back, he might have an earful toward those players, and certainly the players in the defense, because that's just absolutely unprofessional to see the Quakes back line just simply jogging, didn't really care about it. I mean, I get it. Yes, it's 3-1. It's about to be 4-1 in this game. It didn't matter, but to not show the effort like that I mean that's really hard to see. But in the end, Minnesota, they get the 4-1 win in this one, and the shots in this one, 12 shots committed, 10 that the Quakes had, 4 shots on goal committed, 6 that Minnesota has, 3 shots off target committed, 2 that the Quakes had, 3 shots on blocked for the 2 that Minnesota has, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that Minnesota has in this game. And with this win, they also are now second in the Western Conference, because again, a little spoiler alert, Vancouver didn't get a resort over this weekend as well, and they're actually now only 2 points behind San Diego in terms of that top spot. And this is also where I know I'm gonna sound negative once again as a Loons fan, but I want to remind everybody that if the Loons didn't actually drop those resorts, especially didn't blow a 3-0 lead against Sporting KC, probably would be at the top of the Western Conference right now. But still, that's the only negative I will say. It's been fun to see this team play, and really just a perfect week for this team as well. Getting a 4-1 win in this one, moving on into the semifinal, and then also watching them play in person in Dallas and able to get a win on that 4th of July. Just you couldn't ask for a better week for this Minnesota team. But for the Quakes, yeah, it feels like the downward trend is start to happen again. I mean, again, this is a team that, yes, I know they've only lost 3 times since May, but because they have drawn so many games and not able to get wins as a result, that can be a big part when you look at where they are in the standings, and they're definitely dropping in the standings because of not getting those wins. And it could also be a big problem as we get near the end of the season if there's a tiebreaker because they're not getting those wins, and wins is the first tiebreaker in MLS. Yeah, things are looking a little bit dire, and a team that I thought were playing very well, and they definitely were playing well during this stretch going back to May at time. But now all of a sudden they find themselves in a precarious situation where if they don't pick up the slack and pick things up, they might not even make it to the playoffs, and that would consider be very disappointing. Consider how well this team has played this season. This team definitely have been much more talented than what we had last season. But again, the big thing that I hope the Quakes absolutely need to address heading into the secondary transfer window, they need defensive help. I mean, it's pretty clear that the defense of this team is the biggest weakness. I mean, Daniel can only do so much for this team in terms of bailing out this bad defense, but the fact that when you see how bad this team has been defensively, they need help in terms of that spot, because if they don't get some help, the attack is not going to bail them out more times than not. And especially with the way that we don't know exactly when Espinosa is going to come back, yeah, the defense is not going to always bail this team out game in and game out. Now, moving on in terms of the next match, is Sporting KC and Seattle. And I gotta say, for the Sounders, yeah, this got a little bit too hairy late in this one. But in the first half, Ferreira with the game's first shot, but he puts that one wide before Rothrock would puts it wide from close range. Ferreira then hits it right to post game in the 11th minute. As I thought the Sounders started the better side, they were pressing to get the opening goal, and they did exactly that in the 15th minute. As Jordan Morris, a guy that I'm pretty sure Sporting KC fans are not happy to see because he's been an SKC killer recently. He scored from Rothrock to make it 1-0 in favor of Seattle. Rusnak then looked to make it 2-0, but his shot was clear off the line by Jansen Miller. So Jansen Miller in the last couple of games have had these kind of heroic defending of clearing the ball off the line, but up to this point, it was all Seattle in the first 20 minutes of this game. They were pressing hard to try to get another. Showery with the first shot for Sporting KC, but he hits it right to Thomas before a penalty was given to the Sounder. They go to VAR to see whether or not a Showery handball in the box. He did, so a penalty was given to the Sounders. Rusnak steps up. They're trying to make it 2-0 in favor of Seattle, and he does exactly that. Showery, though, did look to try to make amends for his mistake, but he hits it right to Thomas from long range, and then Thomas denies Solomano from close range in the second minute stoppage time. It's a good thing that Seattle has a good backup option in Andrew Thomas. I think Andrew Thomas has done a good job whenever he's come in for Stephen Fry, and he needs to be because, yeah, it's safe to say that Stephen Fry could be out for a bit after that scary head injury that he suffered against Columbus last week. But nevertheless, Sporting KC was definitely pressing late to try to get one back, but instead, completely against the run of play, Jesus Ferreira would score to make it 3-0. And I think it's safe to say that Jesus Ferreira has all of a sudden started to find his goal scoring form again. And again, that's great news if you're the Seattle Sounders. Maybe not great news for the rest of the Western Conference, the way that the Sounders are starting to get things going again. But yeah, completely against the run of play and just an absolute backbreaker for Sporting KC, who looked like they got themselves back in the game with some chances, but now find themselves down 3-0 heading into the second half. But if there's one team that you might still have a hope to come back from a 3-0 deficit, why not Sporting KC? Because they've done it before. Uh, but in the second half, Thomas would deny Ndambe from close before Davis had a shot that actually was spilled by Thomas, and he's very fortunate that his teammate was right there to try and to clear it away and clean up his mess. But there was no doubt that Sporting started the second half the better side. They were trying to 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 start another 3-0 comeback that we already saw with them earlier this season. And they have a chance to do so in the 67th minute because a penalty was given to Sporting KC as Maswowski brought down Joveljic in the box. So here comes Joveljic, a chance to make it 3-1 in this one. And he does exactly like that. It's 3-1 up to this point. Munoz would then puts it wide from close. And in the post would deny Sharawi. And it actually fall to Joveljic on the second attempt. But his shot was deflected and goes right back to Thomas, but there was no doubt the momentum was all with the hosts up to this point, and now they not only were pressing to try to get another one back, but Seattle's got to be careful because you definitely do not want to do a Minnesota again, or even a Colorado in this game, blowing a three nothing lead. But late in this one, another penalty was given to Sporting KC as VAR deemed that Baker Whiting brought down Nunez in the box. Now, before the penalty was taken, Nuhu, I don't know what happened here, but he got himself sent off in this one. I don't know, did he say something egregious? They didn't really show it on the replay of that of this game, but yeah, Nuhu is not a guy that usually loses it said that that easily. So this is kind of very uncharacteristic of him, just kind of completely lost it there. So he got sent off in this moment. But here comes Mooney as a chance to make it 3-2 and make it even more interesting. And he does exactly that. So all of a sudden, it's 3-2 in this game. And keep in mind, there's still at least 5 or 6 minutes left because that VAR check took relatively long. It took most of the 6 minute of stoppage time it has. And it just kind of feel like it's all hands on deck for the Sounders. And not to mention with a Nuhu red card as well. They're down to 10 men. And you know Sporting KC, they're going to push hard and kind of put the kitchen sink to try to get the third goal in this one. Fortunately for the Sounders, they were still able to hang on late in this game. As yeah, in the end, it got a little dicey, but the Sounders does get all 3 points in this one. The shots in this one, 21 shots for the 13 that Seattle has, 9 shots on goal compared to 7 that the Sounders had, 4 shots off target compared to 3 that Sporting KC had, 3 shots as blocked for the 2 that the Sounders had, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that Sporting KC has in this game. And for Sporting KC, they'll be very disappointed that the comeback just fell short again. But one thing that obviously they would like to avoid is to go down 3-0 in a game, and especially I would say for Sporting KC, it's the same thing I said about the Quakes. If they want to still keep themselves in this playoff race, they need to fix that defense. We know that this attack is very good, and at times this attack can definitely overcome the shortcoming that this defense has had. But unfortunately, more times than not, that usually is not the case. And the same I said about the Quakes with Danielle kind of bailing this bad defense out. It's the same with John Postcam. I mean, he can only do so much to bail this bad defense out before he's gonna concede goals that there's just no chance of him saving. So yeah, that is something that I think they'll probably look into the summer transfer window and trying to address. But as I said, for the Sounders, it got a little bit dicey. But in the end, 3 points is 3 points, especially on the road. That is. Now, moving on in terms of the next match. Speaking of game that kind of got a little dicey, the same goes for this one between San Diego and Chicago. And I will say this for the Fire. Yes, I know this is another game that they lost at home, and yes, it's got to be very frustrating if you're a Fire fan. The fact that why in the world this season we're not winning home games like we usually do in previous year. But the fact that they really showed a lot of fight in this one and actually had the energy to do so because they could have easily end up in the same situation as the San Jose Earthquakes, a team that just looked absolutely gassed and have no energy whatsoever to come back when they were down for majority of this game. But they showed a lot of fight back and they really made it this very interesting thing late in this one. And as I said, San Diego has got a little bit too tense for their liking to try and keep themselves at the top of the Western Conference. But in the first half, the first shot of the game did see Sisiaga rob Gutierrez from full stretch, and I gotta say, Pablo Sisiaga, he was definitely big in this one, and we know that he is a very good shot stopper. The other things that he does, not so good whatsoever, but yeah, he definitely showed his shot stopping ability here multiple times, denying these fires attack player, and here straight away he robbed Gutierrez on a full stretch save. But that being said, that also came off a bad giveaway from San Diego, and they got bailed out by their goalkeeper because if it wasn't for Sisiaga incredible save, that was 1-0 in favor of Chicago. The first shot for San Diego did see McNair heads it right to Brady, but on the second shot of the game for them, it's in the back of the net as Anders Dryers, he scored from Lozano and Bombino to make it 1-0 in favor of San Diego. And you know that guy called Anders Dreyer, a guy that is running for MVP and also are going to be potentially winning newcomer of the year. Maybe you need to mark him because I feel like the Fire didn't get that memo. They left him wide open in the box, and yeah, when you leave him wide open in the box with how good he's been lately, I mean, it's no surprise that that they conceded a goal there, and just like that, it was 1-0 in favor of San Diego. And really, after the first frantic 8 minutes, where there was a lot of chances, we then go for a period where not much really happened between both of these teams. Gutierrez did look to respond, but his shot was deflected away before Kuiper would miss wide from close in the 37th minute. I thought it was a good response for the Fire as they now look to try to get the equalizer. Bamba tried to do so, but he missed wide from close range. But then on the third minute of stoppage time, Anders Dreyer would make it 2-0. He scored from Lozano and Bombino to make it 2-0. Just an absolute backbreaker for the Chicago Fire. I mean, again, very similar to this game. Just as you thought the home team had a chance to get themselves back in the game, they conceded late and now found themselves down 2-0 heading into the second half, and also coming off of a lightning counterattack as well. But in the second half, Gutierrez had a shot that was blocked off the line. Brady would then deny Lozano from close in the 50 first minute. Dryers would then look for his hat trick, but he puts it wide in the 61st. We then go for another period where not much really happened, and that's good news for San Diego because that was a little bit too much action of their liking in terms of trying to kill this game off. Sisiega would then absolutely rob Kuipers again from point blank. Well, actually, he only robbed Kuipers once, but he make another big save here from point blank to keep this one at 2-0. But then just a couple of minutes later, Kuipers would get the better of him. So he scored here from Haile Selassie to make it 2-1 in this one. He then looked for another, but was only able to hit it right to Sesiega. But there was no doubt the momentum was Chicago. They were pressing hard to try to get this equalizer. San Diego was in survival mode. Like they're trying to hang on for dear life for this 2-1 win. Haile Selassie had a chance to make it 2-2, but he puts it high on the volley. And in the end, San Diego just about survived this one. They won 2-1 in this one. The shots of this one, 18 shots for the 7 that San Diego has. Both teams had 4 shots on goal, 6 shots off target for the 2 that San Diego has, 1 shot out blocked for the 7 that Chicago has, and possession-wise, 45% possession compared to 55% possession that San Diego has in this game. And on paper, Chicago I thought was the better team in this one. But how many times we said just because you're the better team, that doesn't mean you always win the game, and especially clinical finishing. San Diego was more clinical in this one compared to the Fire. I mean, part of that, you got to give a lot of credit to Pablo Sesiaga. Hasn't played a single minute for the San Diego team. Comes in and does the job straight away, which not a big surprise because that's kind of been the theme of this season for the San Diego side. But if you're the Chicago Fire, you would definitely be very frustrated with this performance. Again, this is a performance that I think they definitely deserve something out of it, but unfortunately, it's not the case. And once again, the home form has been a big problem for this Fire team. I think they only won like twice so far this season. That's clearly not going to be enough if they want to have their aspiration to finally make the playoffs for the first time in what seems like forever. 2017, of course, was actually the date, but it definitely feels like a long time since the Fire has made the playoffs. In fact, ever since I started covering MLS on this channel, Fire has yet to make the playoffs ever since that has happened. Now, moving on into the last game on this board is New England and Austin, and this was a one of those typical game where, despite the fact it ended 0-0, you just kind of have to ask yourself, how in the world did that end with that scoreline? Because man, oh man, there was a lot of chances in this game, and I would also say this was the goalkeeping show because both Ivisic and Stuver, two of the more well-known goalkeepers in terms of doing very well this season, and they definitely put on a show in this one as well. But in the first half, Gallagher with the game's first shot, but he puts this one high as Austin was on the front foot early. They were pushing early to try to get the lead. Dessler would have a volley that goes wide before Ceballos with the rest first shot, but he missed wide in the 13th minute. In the 16 minutes, Ivisic would absolutely rob Uzuni from point blank. So this is definitely not great news if you're an Austin fan seeing Uzuni miss this kind of chance. And this has been the story of Austin this year. Both Brandon Vasquez and Uzuni, both of those players that were brought in to be the goal scorer, and it just have not happened whatsoever. And this is also where I said before, with Vasquez now done for the season, Uzuni's going to have to step up. These are kind of the moment he has to step up, because if he's not going to be stepping up in this moment, there could be even more concern for this Austin team in the future with the way that the goal scoring has been a huge problem for this team. But in the 16th minute, Rubio would put one to San Antonio before Ceballos would head it right to Stuver in the 20th minute. Dester would then hits the side netting in the 28th before Langoni would kiss the post on a shot from close range in the 30th minute. Both of these teams were definitely getting some golden opportunity, but the question is, who can get the opener? Spoiler alert, nobody. In the second minute of stoppage time, Stuver would deny Langoni, who tried a five-hole Stuver there, but Stuver was not having any of it. And with how good of a form that Stuver has been, it feels like ever since he's been announced as the All-Star player, he's definitely backing that up because these last couple of games, he has at times been just standing on his heads. Um, to keep it his side not concede as many goals as they should be. But we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Stuver would deny Shankalai from point blank, as I mean wrote, Stuver kind of picked up where he left off in the last game. I mean, just bailing out his team with some incredible goal save. Pomanic would then hit it right to Stuver in the 40th minute before Shankalai would miss wide from close range. Rubio then puts it wide from close before Hio has a free kick that goes right to Stuvert. And just like the first half, just endless chances for both of these teams. But who can, of course, show their clinical finishing? Again, spoiler alert, nobody. In the 67th minute, Ivasic would deny Bakari from close before Savovic would head it wide from close in the 68th minute. Yusuf would then hits it to Stuvert in the 70th minute. And then Ivasic would deny Bakari from close range because I'm pretty sure Ivasic saw what Stuver has done in terms of making incredible save, and he said, "Don't forget about me." Because right now it feels like it's a goalkeeping show up to this point. Both of these goalkeepers are just not only putting on a show, but they're just refuse to be beaten for the rest of the game. Taylor would then miss wide from close in the 77th minute before Stuver denying Campana from close, and in the post would deny Uzuni from close in the 81st minute. I mean, wrote this game has 0-0 written all over it. It just kind of had that feeling that nobody's going to hit the back of the net because nobody can finish if their life depends on it. In the 88th minute, Bai would put it over from long range before Stuver denied Sand in the near post in the 89th minute, and then in the 4th minute stoppage time, Heel would hit one right to Stuver from long range because why not? Add another tally in terms of the mini save that Brad Stuver has had in this game, and yeah, in the end, in a game of endless chances, somehow it ends 0-0 between both of these teams. The shots in this one, 19 shots compared to 12 that New England has. There was 31 shots in this game, and none of them find the back of net. 4 shots on goal compared to 8 that New England has in this game. There was 12 shots on goal in this one. None of them find the back of the net. 9 shots off target for the 3 that New England has. No shots that was blocked for the 5 that Austin had. And possession-wise, 58% possession for the 42% possession that New England has in this one. And I think coming out of this game, I don't think either of these sides will be very happy without the outcome of this game. I mean, for Austin, they are the team that has the fewest amount of goals scored this season. And it's not a big surprise to see why. I mean, you look at this game, even when they are creating chances, they just don't have that clinical finishing whatsoever. And then for New England, they won't be happy because the fact that not only they got Stuvert in this one, I mean, they can ask the Quakes how that feel in the U.S. Open Cup quarterfinal. But again, this is the same problem that they had against Miami. They're putting a lot of good chances. That they're getting themselves in good spot. They just cannot put the ball into the back of the net because they're another team just like Austin, just been kind of snake bitten throughout the season at when it comes to goal scoring. I kind of had a feeling that, I mentioned earlier in that Toronto versus Atlanta game that I thought that was going to be 0-0. I kind of also had a feeling this was going to end 0-0 too because of the way that these are two of the lowest goal scoring team in the league. And it's not because of the fact that both of these teams can't attack. It's just that finishing from both of these teams haven't really been great whatsoever. And this is another example of it. So a very frustrating 0-0 draw. But if you're a neutral watching this, it was kind of entertaining consider how many chances were in this one and how both goalkeepers definitely put on a show for the neutral to watch. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of all of these games. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of the review for these first 8 games for match week number 23. Tomorrow we'll look at the last 6 games, and that include those weather delay game. And I believe the first one we're going to talk about is the Hell is Real Derby, and you want to stay tuned for that one because man, what a Hell is Real Derby he had. Another instant classic, as you expect from one of the greatest rivalry that we've seen in recent memory in this league history. And we'll also look at some of the late West Coast game that is as well. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.